The single most destructive force that has ever been directed on women is feminism. Despite what you may hear from women, the movement's long-term implications will be destructive to women as a population and will destabilize them. The movement's short-term gains may have succeeded in calming the masses of women, but the movement's long-term implications will be destructive to feminism. Even if women are able to make reforms and minimize the impacts in democracies, the damage has already been done, and a group of males has arisen who reject traditional gender roles and forms of authority. This is the case even if women are successful in making changes and mitigating the repercussions. Because of this alteration, a predetermined portion of males now appear to be present. It was the best thing that could have happened to any culture that adopted women working outside the home, but it was the worst thing that could have happened because it relieved men of the responsibility of providing for their families, which was the worst thing that could have happened to any culture that adopted it. Now that the lady is able to contribute, it is quite unlikely that she would be able to stay at home even if she desired to do so due to the increase in the number of wage slaves. She was financially dependent on her husband despite the fact that she had a job and a source of money of her own. She frequently felt confused as a result of the conflicting messages sent out by the media regarding the significance of uniqueness and freedom. Even though she helped relieve some of the tension in her husband's life, she was still regarded in an unfavorable light. Even while the man may still be putting in long hours at the office, his job is probably less stressful now than it was when the economy was in a far worse shape. These days, single guys have a lot of advantages when it comes to their financial freedom. There is no need for women to get into debt in order to pay their own expenses or to entertain an intelligent man. Even though bachelors should steer clear of the temptations that women present, there are a lot of chances available in today's society for those who have the resources to take advantage of them. Because getting married and having children is now a prerequisite for advancement in many businesses and professions, he ought to consider himself extremely fortunate to have been a part of the older society's economic freedom as a result of this shift in attitude. This is because getting married and having children is now a requirement for advancement in many industries and professions. The sexually liberated man of today may give himself whatever he wants, whenever he wants, and is not confined to any standards that he does not desire to accept. He is the modern man who has attained sexual liberty. When society no longer stigmatizes sexual behavior between the sexes, men who are able to manipulate women will be in a position to take advantage of them. It's possible that you'll do things to the women around you that men in the past would have had to go to the lengths of waging a war in order to do. The types of men who have been most successful as a result of the sexual revolution are not the types of men who would have been successful in a society with less bias. If they had been born during a time when a stable employment was all that was required to attract a spouse and raise a family, then their primary responsibility would have been to serve another man and send a payment home to the family. These guys would not have been encouraged to expand their skill sets or take on additional duties at the time of the sexual revolution. What finally caused humanity to return to its animalistic origins and led to the disintegration of established rules in society? Women who are desirable will gravitate toward men who are willing to put in effort, while men who don't see the value in doing so are free to pursue whatever it is they want in life. They want a society in which everyone is liberated from the conventions of the nuclear family and the routine of living in a house with a white picket fence. One of the most admirable qualities of man is his capacity to adjust to different circumstances, which shines brightest once he discovers a way to break free from the limitations imposed by his society. It will not be difficult for him to capitalize on any opportunity that presents itself. An increasing number of males are being compelled to blaze their own trails since established routes are becoming extinct or otherwise unavailable. They do it on the weekends as a pastime, and they take great pride in their white picket fences. The predictable life that comes with having a nuclear family is something that a lot of guys secretly wish they had. Because these males are unable to fulfill the biological imperative of defending others who are dependent on them, they cannot be instructed on what to do and hence cannot be given orders. These dudes are more likely to concentrate on one of the following three activities: adjusting and improving their physical selves for careers that require charisma or hedonism, abandoning conventional knowledge in favor of a search for meaning beyond the material world, or giving up and realizing that one is simply not fit out for this kind of activity in order to save oneself from failure and a life similar to that of the Stone Age. Therefore, men benefit in some way, shape, or form from the deterioration of society that is brought on by women, regardless of the particulars of the circumstance. After a person has gained consciousness of the real world, it is impossible for them to return to living a life in which they deny it. Now that this obstacle has been removed, they are free to pursue any course of action they see fit. The males who steadfastly adhere to the established norms will be the ones to bear the consequences of adhering to this system. It is unfortunate that these brave men would have to go through with such a perilous mission. They may be able to use the anguish to their advantage and gradually emerge from their induced state of sleep if they are able to hold out through the pain. In accordance with a well-known proverb, experience is the best teacher, and it stands to reason that traumatic experiences leave the longest-lasting impressions. Therefore, if they are able to persevere through the adversity, they will be in a better position to benefit from it when society once again places an emphasis on rationality and accountability. This is the case whether or not they are able to endure the adversity. Men who complain about our modern culture and the unrestrained behavior of its women have not yet identified a cause that resonates with them on a deeper level than their desire to possess the women in our culture. These gentlemen will pave the way for a return to courtship and marital practices that are more traditional in the future because they are unwilling to make changes to their own behavior. This will clear the way for more traditional practices. When a person is finally able to depend only on themselves, they have the ability to wield a power that is greater than any natural calamity. It will be up to him to mold his destiny in the manner that he considers to be appropriate. Given the pervasiveness of humiliating treatment of women in today's society, feminism has helped to shine light on the hidden character of women. Case in point, the falling status of women will never be forgotten since it is impossible to turn back the clock and reverse the trend. There is no way to remove the anguish that men experience. This manner of life, in which women are cut off from society and forced to sell their spirits in exchange for material gain, cannot be sustained indefinitely by anyone who possesses even a modicum of common sense. The individual in issue needs to grasp the seriousness of the predicament he finds himself in. There are viable answers to the challenges we confront, but it would be impossible to put them into practice. It is realistic to believe that no woman would actively oppose a discourse about expanding women's rights by voting against doing what she knew to be correct. This is because doing what she knew to be correct would be considered unethical. Anyone with even a modicum of common sense can see that the end of his civilization is drawing close when people who take more than they contribute are given the ability to vote. When such a large number of people in the past made the same prediction, what kind of outcomes can we possibly anticipate? It is only sometimes taken to heart since each succeeding generation believes it to be more enlightened than the one that came before it. In the event that the system fails and society descends into anarchy, it will be the responsibility of men to restore order and put the parts back where they belong. The extent to which those educated men are willing to assist in picking up the pieces and beginning over will determine the extent to which the new society that is being created on the ruins of the old one will be able to persist over the course of time. No matter how much control a wise man has over his kingdom while he is still alive, the kingdom will always fall into a state of weakness and decadence no matter how much control the smart man has. This is something that will always be the case, regardless of how firmly he holds onto his area. This pessimism constitutes a significant obstacle in the way of achieving effectiveness. On every level of their being, men in today's world are suffering more than they ever have before as a direct result of the extraordinary availability of data. Convincing the guys to participate in the restoration of society will be the most challenging task for those who aid in the destruction of civilization and in freeing the males.